This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. You're listening to episode number 80, featuring co-host Mark Beecham's interview with Mick from the Mainframe Airdrop event in London.
Hello, welcome, Mick, to the Blockchain Show podcast.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. I'm excited to be part of it. It's a great show.
Thank you very much. We try our best. We're a small team and working quite hard to try and keep this going. A global team, which is probably not unique in Blockchain Show podcast world, but it's pretty special.
Where are you guys based? Are you distributed all over the world?
Yeah, so we have a couple of people in California, near Los Angeles. We have a guy in Orlando, Florida. He's a British expat who lives in Orlando. I have myself here in London and roaming around Europe when I can. And we have a couple of people, I think, in the Milwaukee area as well. So we've also got some associates that we've spoken to over the years, a guy in Australia who we turn to when we need somebody to record something that's in the middle of the night.
Well, that sounds like you're building your empire. That's exciting.
Well, it is exciting, and it's something I've been involved with for just a little over a year now. And I was a listener to the show, and it was exciting for me as a listener to hear how blockchain in general was taking off. It was moving beyond Bitcoin and into something a little more real and not saying Bitcoin's not real and useful, but different and the distributed ledger technology actually starting to take off in 2017. So it was really good for me to get involved then, keeping it rolling. We're starting to see in 2018 some actual applications of it. It's moving beyond the theory and into the wild, and it's great to see events like this Mainframe Airdrop here, where you're spreading the word. You're trying to get the word out there to people to get involved, to get excited about it as much as you are.
Yeah, well, I agree with your sentiment. This year and these next few years are going to be really exciting for blockchain technology. I think people are waiting for kind of big use cases to be solved and to be worked on, and I think a lot of different projects are right there on the cusp. So it's an exciting time to be involved in the space.
So, do you want to go back and introduce yourself, Mick, and tell us all about yourself and Mainframe?
Let's see. Okay, so I dropped out of Princeton after my freshman year, and I started a company called Zinch, and it was a web app that connected high school students with university admissions officers. It was kind of in the college admissions education space in the US. And at our peak, we had about 75% of all US high school students using it. So it became very popular. It was kind of like a way for students to showcase their talents and their skills, kind of like a LinkedIn profile, but specifically for university admissions. And that grew really well, and we had 80 employees in 3 different locations all over the world. And then we were acquired by Chegg, which is now a public company in the US. And that was a great experience. And at the heart of it was really helping people connect, connect and communicate and interact in a more efficient way. I think one of the great things about the internet is in a way, it brings us together. It allows us to interact with people that we would have normally never been able to interact with. So then I worked on a project called Undrip. And Undrip was mostly a side project. I kind of wanted to learn mobile development. I was exhausted with all of the social media. It was just this fire hose of social media. And so the idea was to use algorithms to surface the most interesting content. And so that if I only checked Undrip, the app, once a day, I could see the most interesting stuff filtered and organized so that I could be more efficient instead of just numbingly scrolling through a feed. And that didn't really work out. I mean, I think, I've had success and I've had failure, and that was really hard. But I wanted to, after having that failure, I realized, if I'm going to fail, why don't I work on something just super epic so that if I failed, at least I went after something that was just huge or ambitious. And that's when we started to think about email. The idea was to try to make email better. We became deeply familiar with email protocols, IMAP, SMTP, and we became really frustrated with just how archaic they were. They
pretty old stuff, right?
Exactly. Because the thing about email is it's like it's the inbox is kind of a database. It's your personal database. People can put things into your personal database, but it's a terrible database because it's not structured, it's not extensible, it's not easy for other applications to kind of leverage that data. It's not interoperable with really anything. Yeah. And so it's just a terrible database. And that's really what led us to like, okay, how could we build a better communication protocol, something that was more structured, more modern, more extensible, and so we built that and we worked on that. And this was 5 years ago. So we've been working in this space for a long time. And one of the big challenges that we faced is that a lot of the companies, and it was mostly like B2B, it was mostly serving businesses, helping them be more productive, adding message primitives like action items and polls and calendaring and just a bunch of use cases that you would find in a workplace. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we kept finding was that we said, look, it's decentralized, it's powerful. Once we have all these companies using it, you can connect and communicate with anybody. But they just said, you know what, why don't you guys just host it? Because you guys are the experts. We don't want to have to host anything. And so we ran into the challenge where there was just not a lot of incentive for people to help support the network, to help run a node. And that's really what ultimately led us down the path of blockchain technology. We saw it as an opportunity to use the incentivization that blockchain brings to
share the load.
Exactly, to share the load. And all of a sudden, in theory, it could become more decentralized. Well, not just in theory, but also in practice. Because email, in theory, is decentralized, but in practice, it's controlled by Google, Microsoft, Apple. Very, very few. Mm-hmm. And so that's really what kind of sent us off on this trajectory of using blockchain technology. Where I first was exposed to it was in 2013. I invested in Bitcoin. After my first company was acquired, I started doing all sorts of crazy investments and angel investments, and Bitcoin was one of those crazy investments. And in 2015, or I think it was 2016, I was a mentor at Techstars, and there was a project that was going through the cohort, and they were called AidTech. And they were using blockchain technology to help solve some of the financial inclusion challenges that refugee camps were having. So essentially you have refugee camps who are given prepaid credit cards or other forms of things that nonprofits will give them or companies will give them to help the refugees. And it was the first time I got to see blockchain technology being used in like a real life use case, real life application. And I was blown away. I said, wow, this is incredible. I had no idea that these were the types of problems that it could solve. And so just kind of that's a little bit of the history of like what brought us into this world. Our CTO, he was an early Bitcoin miner. He was part of the Ethereum kind of community here in London as it was getting started with Gavin Wood and a few others. Yep. And he participated in the Ethereum pre-sale. So he's kind of, of the team, he's the blockchain patriarch. He's the most experienced with this sort of stuff. And we leaned on him like, could we leverage blockchain to help solve some of the challenges that we were facing, specifically around incentivization? And so anyway, that's what led us down this path. And the cool thing is we've been working towards where we are today. We realized that at the end of the day, that what we're building is a peer-to-peer network, and it's just data packets that are being relayed around the network. And there's nothing that says it has to be only messaging or communication. And so we've expanded kind of the vision to be, this can be way more than just communication and messaging. This could be a decentralized Twitter or decentralized Reddit or decentralized Medium. And the reason I give those examples are because sometimes those are the types of applications that are subject to censorship or disruption or surveillance. And so, we're building, that was a very long answer, but we're building a network that's simply unstoppable, that has censorship resistance, surveillance resistance built in, privacy and freedom as a first-class citizen, and that's what we're doing.
It's a huge mission, right? It's a huge vision to achieve something like that. It's an incredibly, worthwhile and important mission to achieve some of the things. I know looking at your website, I think you're pitching yourselves as the communication platform for Web 3.0, and for some people will be familiar with that Web 3.0 term. I guess what's your view of what Web 3.0 is? It's very much come out.
It's still kind of ambiguous. I think a lot of people are still trying to define it. But the way that I see it is that this is kind of the next evolution of the internet, where data is no longer controlled by corporate overlords, but it is controlled by us, that we become our own sovereign individuals controlling our own data, yet we're able to still have these rich interactions online. And so I think it's when we talk about Web3, I think it is more of like this decentralized web where, there are no gatekeepers, there are no kind of centralized authorities like the Google Play Store or the Apple Store to say what's right and what's wrong, but that we as global citizens can and this is kind of the beauty of the blockchain technology, of blockchain technology, is just that we can work together, we can collaborate in a trustless way, and it can still operate and it can still run. And that's powerful. And I think a lot of the disruption that's happened in kind of finance with Bitcoin and being able to make these cross-border payments for pennies or cents, I think that type of disruption is going to be happening across industries, with a lot of different use cases beyond payments, beyond store value or medium of exchange.
Do you think that opens it up for kind of exploitation? Because it's great to distribute this kind of functionality. It's not just technology, but these kind of services that individuals want to use. But do you think that opens it up to abuse, to the amount of people in the world who maybe are not good at heart and who have their own interests at hand and not anyone else's interests at hand? How do you think it pitches in this world of today, where there's a lot of divisions, a lot of maybe governments, but maybe societies that are not all singing from the same hymn sheet?
Yeah, and this is one of the topics that as a team we discuss a lot. We want to build technology that can liberate people. We want to build technology that can allow people to be free, that can allow people to be private if they want to be private. Now, we believe that we're building kind of a core protocol of this new layer of the web. And just as HTTP and the web today is used also for very criminal behavior or nasty things, that could happen with our technology as well. But what we hope and what we believe is that most people are good. Most people are good human beings. They have good hearts, and we believe that there will be a lot more positive that comes out of this than there is negative. But certainly there could be some negative use cases as well, and we're well aware of that.
So I guess you just got to hope that there's more than 51% good people in the world, right?
Exactly. I think there are. I believe in humanity.
Good. It's a great thing. So tell us what's going on in London today. What's the event? What's the T-shirt?
Yeah.
What's going on upstairs?
I mean, one of the things that is essential, one of the things that our success hinges on in a very big way is how decentralized our network can be. How many people are helping support this network globally. And so we're spending a lot of time trying to build our community. We're spending a lot of time trying to win fans and friends all over the world. And so one of the things that we're doing, and we're doing a number of things, but one of the things that we're doing right now is we're doing a tour in Europe to do these physical airdrops. Now, most people are familiar with airdrops in kind of the virtual sense, where you'll receive tokens. Yeah, you register and you receive some tokens. We decided to take that idea literally, and we've made these poker chips we've made these tokens that look like poker chips that kind of have different values on them. Mm-hmm. We've put them in balloons, which, by the way, is a very tedious process, putting tokens in balloons.
There's a lot of hard work going on upstairs.
Yep. And we blow those balloons up, we put them in a net, we have a great event, we rent out a venue. Right now we're renting out a church with organs and pipes and
it's a
altars.
Beautiful hall, isn't it?
Yeah. And we have a fun time. We have music, we have food, socialize, we'll do the airdrop where we'll count down from 10 and then the balloons will all fall. And what will happen is people will start popping the balloons trying to find the tokens that are the most valuable. And yet last night we were in Paris. And every time I'll usually film the airdrop for our social media and whatnot. And I decided to get into the middle of the airdrop. And it was the most aggressive that it's ever been.
A frenzy.
Yes, it was a frenzy. I've been in the middle of airdrops many times before, but last night in Paris was pretty crazy. But it's fun. I mean, nobody got hurt. It's just, people are kind of really wanting those.
Excitement's building.
Yeah, people want those bigger value tokens. they know that this is one of the last chances to get Mainframe tokens before we distribute next week on July 4th. So, but anyway, we're doing these airdrops all over Europe. We do kind of tours. We did an Asian tour where we went to Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, Seoul, Korea, Tokyo, Japan. That was a few months ago. We did New York during Consensus Week. And then now we're doing 6 cities in 7 days. We did Zug, Switzerland, Warsaw, Poland,
Crypto Valley.
Berlin, Germany, Paris, France. Tonight is London and tomorrow is Amsterdam. So we're going all over Europe. We're gonna and we'll be doing many more even after token distribution. Obviously, the rate from Ether to MFT will change because at that point there will be kind of an open price, etc. But it's so much fun. Every time I go to these airdrops, I hear stories from people of why our mission matters to them, why privacy matters to them, why freedom matters to them, and it's inspiring. It motivates me. It makes me want to work harder. And when we're at these different sites, we'll go see some of the local historical sites. When we were in Berlin, looking at the Berlin Wall and thinking about what freedom and censorship meant to those people. And, we were in Warsaw looking at, the memorial for the, what's it called? The Warsaw Uprising is what it was, where there were a handful of people who were working hard to try to stop the Nazi regime from continuing to move west. And those were heroes. Those were fighters for freedom. And so we go to these places. Today we were, and we'll usually do a quick little video where we talk about it, and we'll be releasing some of those videos soon. Today we were near the Churchill war rooms. We were thinking about Winston Churchill and Dunkirk, and just how that he's an incredible hero for freedom and for fighting for freedom. And so anyway, just being among the community, being in these locations, it just is motivating and inspiring, and it's invigorating.
I think that the word you used there, community, I think that's one thing I've observed. I've been in technology for 20 odd years, 20 some years. Technology is my day job, but I think the blockchain and distributed ledger based technologies, you almost get community by default, right? Because you have to have it to make the consensus work, make the distributed nature work, and make people kind of buy into it to make it work. But actually, as well as it being kind of part of the package, it's a really good social community feel about it anyway. People want to make it work. I guess is something I'm feeling from working on the Blockchain Show podcast, from going to various events in various cities in the world. I've done a bit of a tour. I've been to Seattle and Toronto and a few other kind of blockchain hubs around the world. There's a sense of community, not just because that's kind of what you need to make blockchains work, but also because people see the benefits, see the potential, and see that working together is better than working apart. Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, when I go to these, it feels it's a community, but it's starting to feel more like a movement. The emotion and the passion and the power. And you'll see today. I mean, this is it's just fun. It's a family. Like it's a family for freedom, and that's why I love being here. And it's hard, I feel like we're averaging like 3 or 4 hours of sleep every night, just going back to back. Because usually when we get back from the airdrop, we will post on social media, quickly edit a video, and just to let our larger community kind of see what happened. And sometimes that'll be until like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. Yeah. And then we got to wake up really early the next morning to catch a flight or a train. This morning we woke up we had to leave at 6. So it's like go to bed at 2, wake up at 6, get on a train from Paris to London. And then I was at a panel this morning. So it's just like, it's back to back of go. It's exhausting, but at the same time, it's so fulfilling, just being with our community.
It was like the blockchain summit.
The blockchain summit in London, yeah.
How was that today?
It was good. I was on a panel, and we talked about ICOs, the good, bad, and the ugly. One of the things it was good, but one of the things that generally I don't love about this space is just this roadshow mentality. Now we are on the road, but we are spending our time with our community. We're spending our time getting to know the people who share our values and our mission. But going to just event after event and conference after conference, it's just noisy. There's just so much noise there. I don't know. It's just exhausting. So I don't love that that's like a thing that we have to like go speak at all these conferences and sponsor conferences. I'd much rather be spending money on these events that we're doing tonight, being with our community, versus like sponsoring at some silly conference or having some booth. But it seems like it's part of the culture, part of the crypto culture, these conferences. I don't know.
I've been to a few of them, and they're a great way to kind of come up to speed. Certainly last year, I went to a series of them, and they're all kind of different in their own way. A few in London, a few in other cities that I went to. But yeah, I'm kind of getting that fatigue, maybe.
Yeah.
I've heard actually some of the same speeches a couple of times now. I'm really keen to move on and see those things in the real world, and see people getting together like today's event, and actually seeing it happen, as opposed to just hearing about it.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be invited along and to be part of your event tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. Taking some photos, taking some video of our own, which I'll get up on our website and in our podcast notes. But I guess just finishing up, because I know you're a busy guy and you've got more interviews coming up. Any other message for our listeners out there about how they get involved with Mainframe and the blockchain scene more widely? What do you want our audience to be aware of and to be involved with?
Yeah, so July 4th, which is next week, we'll be distributing tokens, and we're very deliberate about the choices we make. I mean, we decided July 4th because for Americans anyway, it represents independence, it represents freedom, and that's what our mission is about. It's giving people freedom, giving people privacy, and giving people security. And it's not just citizens, but we're also working with big enterprises, we're working with specific governments. But with all the recent Facebook scandals, stuff like that, people are definitely starting to understand that when they're not paying for the product, they are the product. But anyway, I would say the way that people can contribute, the way that people can get involved is they can work with us to start building incredible, world-class, decentralized applications on our platform. We are focused on the infrastructure. Now, we built Onyx, which is kind of a proof of concept messaging application that's built on the Mainframe network. But we're not going to be in the business of building out all these apps. We want to be in the business of making sure that the network and the infrastructure is robust, it's strong, it's easy to use, it has great documentation, it's integrated with all the major blockchain ecosystems, etc. That's the type of stuff we want to be focused on. So we would love to see one of our community members build the next Twitter that's decentralized, or the next Reddit, or Medium, or whatever, right? Like there are plenty of use cases, and we would love to work with them on that. We would love to invest in them, or give them tokens, reward them, participate in that process. And as we're building out the APIs and the SDKs for building out the functionality on our platform, we want to do that based on real need. We want to do that based on what do developers value the most?
Right.
What are their biggest frustrations? And so we want to start that conversation early. Even though our platform's not, fully featured and fully documented, we still want to start that conversation as early as possible so that we can make sure we're on the same page and that we're actually solving real problems for developers. Awesome. So that's how people can get involved. It's like, hey, you have an idea that you think should be decentralized, that you think should be unstoppable and free from government or corporate tyrants, then let's talk and let's brainstorm.
So that's mainframe.com, right?
Yeah, mainframe.com.
Excellent. Well, we'll put those links all over our website and all over our show notes. Yeah, so I mean, just as an aside there, it sounds like you want to be the almost the AWS of blockchain infrastructure platforms. What happens when AWS wants to be the AWS of blockchain infrastructure platforms?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question, but there's a fundamental difference, and the fundamental difference is that they want to control things. They want to control their tools, their services, their network, their community. We're trying to build something that goes beyond us. We're trying to build something that becomes so decentralized that we have very little control. Now, hopefully people will trust us as the creators, as the core developers, and we'll trust our judgment on where the direction should go, but we want this to be fully decentralized, completely open source. And so that sort of ethos of creating something that kind of flies off on its own, I don't think Amazon would ever have that. And I think that that's the type of attitude, though, that we want to create something that goes beyond our 19 people to be successful. That's the type of attitude you need to have for this to really work. We don't want to be the in control. We don't want to be centralized. We want this to be decentralized and unstoppable. So if the U.S. government if they were to come to me and say, "Hey, we need access to all this stuff," I literally have no way to do that. That's what I want to be able to achieve, where I would have no way to stop this runaway train.
Excellent, awesome. Well, it's so much potential. Hugely interesting. I'm really looking forward to the event tonight. So Mick, once again, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and we will watch you with interest.
Thanks so much for having me on, and let's have a follow-up conversation in the coming months to see how things go.
Excellent. Watch out for mainframe.com in this space. Thanks, everybody.
Are you looking for an easy way to buy Bitcoin or Ether on a safe, secure platform? Coinbase is the easiest place to buy and sell digital currencies. Sign up today as a friend of the Blockchain Show, and if you buy or sell $100 of Bitcoin or more, you'll earn $10 of free Bitcoin for yourself and $10 of Bitcoin to support this show. Join now using the link in this episode's show notes at theblockchainshow.com.